Hu Kang's sudden appearance disrupted Liu Shi's thoughts. By the time she returned to the south courtyard, it was already 11. Autumn was approaching. Night winds blew with a slight chill. Chan sat on a wooden stool near the vat, propped on her knees, half asleep. Seeing her, Liu Shi felt pity and gently shook her. Chan, wake up. Go to bed. I'll watch tonight. You'll take over tomorrow. Mistress, you're back. Chan rubbed her sleepy eyes. Liu Shi was about to go inside to fetch a coat when suddenly the vat burst into flames. Fire spread from nowhere. Before Liu Shi could react, red flames engulfed the vat's opening. Liu Shi suddenly remembered. Realgar was highly flammable. She quickly grabbed Chan's hand and pulled her into the room, slamming the door shut. Win! A violent explosion rang out. Liu Shi's ears still rang from the blast. She exhaled in relief. Thankfully, she had pulled Chan to safety. Otherwise, they both would have died. Servants from across the mansion rushed to the south courtyard. First was Madame Bai. Seeing the vat destroyed and all evidence gone, she thought Liu Shi was finished. She sneered openly. Elder wife, you're quite bold. Thankfully, you're unharmed. Otherwise, we'd have thought you committed suicide out of guilt. Liu Shi slowly walked toward Madame Bai, raised her hand, and slapped her hard, then sternly said, Suicide from guilt? Who gave a servant like you the right to slander your master? Madame Bai glared, unable to believe Liu Shi had dared strike her in public. But under Liu Shi's cold gaze, she could only bow her head. The other servants, seeing this, became even more fearful of the elder wife, standing in silence, afraid to speak falsely. Elder sister-in-law, are you all right? The third young master arrived, looking at the blackened, destroyed vat with concern. Elder sister-in-law, are you hurt? Liu Shi shook her head. Thank you for asking. I'm unharmed. More people gathered. The Hu mansion was full of schemers and traitors. No one could be trusted. Liu Shi ordered Chan to escort everyone out. Only 2 days remained. The most crucial clue had been destroyed. Time was running out. She needed silence to think. Liu Shi looked at Madame Bai and said pointedly, Is that you, Madame Bai? Last time, soaking in the worm vat. Surely you still don't feel it was enough. Recalling the sensation of worms gnawing down to her bones, Madame Bai shivered, too frightened to utter another word. Liu Shi turned to Madame Hu and asked, I've retrieved the grave soil exactly as Mother instructed. If I made any mistake, please point it out so I may learn. Madame Hu pointed at the vat, glaring. I used the coffin-bottom soil for my Nai cultivation ritual. Just look at the good deed you've done. Liu Shi cautiously stepped toward the vat, squinting closely. She saw the Nai had turned a sickly yellow. She could no longer sense any Yin energy from it. Its essence had been stolen. Only its shell remained. How do you plan to explain this to me? Liu Shi plucked a leaf of Nai. The moment she broke it, it turned to ash. She sniffed it carefully, then looked at Madame Hu and concluded. This Nai had realgar powder used as a catalyst to draw out its spirit. Madame Hu had intended to use this as an excuse to punish Liu Shi. She never expected that in such a short time, Liu Shi had gained such skill. Narrowing her eyes, she asked, Or could it be that you secretly added realgar to steal the Nai, as spirit, and ruin my plan? Liu Shi met Madame, whose gaze directly and confidently replied, The soil was delivered by me. If something went wrong, wouldn't all blame fall on me? I begged Mother to investigate carefully and not be deceived by a schemer. Good, very good. You're truly improving. The soil was yours to deliver. You have 3 days to find the mastermind behind this. If you fail, you will bear the sin. Then I request that all authority in the mansion be granted to me for these 3 days. Having gone this far, Madame Hu couldn't refuse. Fine. You have 3 days. If you can't find the culprit, it will be you. Don't dream the eldest young master will save you then. Madame Hu waved her hand and left, leaving Liu Shi alone in deep thought. Her back was soaked with sweat. She forced herself to appear calm, though she had no solution yet. Madame Bai was the most suspicious. She hated Liu Shi and had the most access to the abattoir. But when Liu Shi delivered the soil, Madame Bai was still being punished. If she was responsible, it could only have happened in the past few days. Even if it was Madame Bai, where could Liu Shi find evidence now? Then there was Tai, the one who took the soil from Liu Shi and delivered it to Madame Hu. He couldn't be ruled out either. Perhaps someone had bribed him to harm her. The ghost boy appeared again, floating in midair, smugly saying, I told you already, your death isn't far off. Liu Shi ignored him. She called over a group of servants and ordered them to carry the vat back to the south courtyard, in case someone tried to destroy evidence. Chan, seeing Lieu Shi bring back a strange, sealed vat, found it odd and asked, "What's inside, mistress? Watch it for me. Absolutely no one is allowed near it or to open it, understand?" Lieu Shi didn't answer. Some things were better left unknown. Telling Chan too much might endanger her. She went into the room, took out a red talisman, and stuck it over the vat's opening. She had just learned to draw this talisman. It was called the Guardian Talisman. If anyone else touched the vat, the talisman would strike them, throwing them back. After finishing, Lieu Shi turned to Chan. "Remember, don't touch the vat." Chan obediently nodded. She could feel her mistress's words now carried real authority, compelling obedience. "I heard Madame temporarily handed over management of the mansion to you. My mistress is truly impressive." Lieu Shi hadn't expected the news to spread so fast. She nodded. "Yes, I'll be very busy these days. I need your help. Watch this vat carefully for me." Chan affectionately took Lieu Shi's arm, giggling. "Yes, elder wife. My honor and shame are tied to you. Wherever you point, I'll strike." Suddenly, Lieu Shi remembered something. She looked toward Baotu's room and asked, "Have you noticed anything strange near Baotu lately?" Chan thought for a moment, then shook her head. "No, mistress. For the past week, concubine Baotu has stayed in her room recovering. The only strange thing might be that she heard you've taken over management. She's probably furious enough to burst her eyes." Lieu Shi just nodded. She told Chan to guard the vat and then went to the Tsang Shu Ge archive pavilion to search for books. Fortunately, last week Lieu Shi had read about Nai cultivation and how to steal Nai from others, which was why she'd immediately recognized the realgar. She had encountered realgar before when accompanying Madame Mai on errands, so just by smelling the leaf, she knew someone had tampered with it. Now, she decided to find more books on Nai talismans to see if she could uncover further clues. The Hu family's archive pavilion was deserted. It was forbidden to outsiders. Only Hu descendants could enter. As the ancients said, to know how powerful a family is, look at the number of books they keep. Lieu Shi gazed at the endless rows of tightly packed books. She knew she could spend a lifetime and still not read them all. From this, she could see how deep the Hu family's power ran. The more she learned, the more she doubted. Was the Hu family truly just the richest family in Lang region? Fortunately, the books were categorized with clear labels. Lieu Shi didn't waste much time finding the one she needed. But it was too high for her to reach, even on tiptoe. Just as she was about to ask someone for help, a deep, warm male voice came from behind. "Let me help you." Lieu Shi startled and turned. The man's face was 80% identical to the eldest young master's. Only his features were gentler, more harmonious. It was none other than Hu Kang, the third young master. "I appreciate it." Lieu Shi stepped aside as the third young master retrieved the book. Since marrying into the Hu family, this was the first time she had interacted with him, excluding the previous incident when the eldest young master had possessed his body. "No trouble at all, elder sister-in-law. Just a small favor. You read these kinds of books too? Is this the one you need?" He handed the book to Lieu Shi. She took it with both hands, smiling. "Thank you, third young master. You're interested in these books too? It's already so late." He shook his head. "No, not me. Lately, Hiji has been interested. I'm just fetching it for her." Lieu Shi turned to leave, but the third young master suddenly grabbed her wrist. "Lieu Shi, I'm sorry about what happened that night." Seeing her confused expression, he scratched his head and explained. "That night when I came to your room, I damaged your reputation." That night, it had been the eldest young master possessing his body. Lieu Shi didn't expect Hu Kang to remember it. Recalling the scene, Lieu Shi pulled her hand away, flustered, and turned to leave, unsure how to respond. Though she knew it was the eldest young master's soul in control, it was still Hu Kang's body. She took a deep breath and calmly turned back. "That night, it was the eldest young master possessing you. It's in the past. Don't dwell on it. All right. If you ever face difficulties, come find me." Hu Kang's sudden appearance disrupted Lieu Shi's thoughts. By the time she returned to the south courtyard, it was already 11. Autumn was approaching. Night winds blew with a slight chill. Chan sat on a wooden stool near the vat, propped on her knees, half asleep. Seeing her, Lieu Shi felt pity and gently shook her. Chan, wake up. Go to bed. I'll watch tonight. You'll take over tomorrow. Mistress, you're back." Chan rubbed her sleepy eyes. Lieu Shi was about to go inside to fetch a coat when suddenly the vat burst into flames. Fire spread from nowhere. Before Lieu Shi could react, red flames engulfed the vat's opening. Lieu Shi suddenly remembered. Realgar was highly flammable. She quickly grabbed Chan's hand and pulled her into the room, slamming the door shut. Win! A violent explosion rang out. Lieu Shi's ears still rang from the blast. She exhaled in relief. Thankfully, she had pulled Chan to safety. Otherwise, they both would have died. Servants from across the mansion rushed to the south courtyard. First was Madame Bai. Seeing the vat destroyed and all evidence gone, she thought Lieu Shi was finished. She sneered openly. Elder wife, you're quite bold. Thankfully, you're unharmed. Otherwise, we'd have thought you committed suicide out of guilt. Lieu Shi slowly walked toward Madame Bai, raised her hand, and slapped her hard, then sternly said, Suicide from guilt? Who gave a servant like you the right to slander your master? Madame Bai glared, unable to believe Lieu Shi had dared strike her in public. But under Lieu Shi's cold gaze, she could only bow her head. The other servants, seeing this, became even more fearful of the elder wife, standing in silence, afraid to speak falsely. Elder sister-in-law, are you all right? The third young master arrived, looking at the blackened, destroyed vat with concern. Elder sister-in-law, are you hurt? Lieu Shi shook her head. Thank you for asking. I'm unharmed. More people gathered. The Hu mansion was full of schemers and traitors. No one could be trusted. Lieu Shi ordered Chan to escort everyone out. Only 2 days remained. The most crucial clue had been destroyed. Time was running out. She needed silence to think. He followed the third young master. Seeing from afar her husband whispering to Lieu Shi, she burned with jealousy but forced herself to restrain it. She grabbed his arm and sweetly asked, It's so late. What if you catch a cold going out like this? Autumn is coming. Let's go back and rest. The third young master pulled his arm away, displeased. The elder wife's courtyard just caught fire. Can't you even ask if she's all right? Hearing this, He burst into tears. I heard the news about the south courtyard and saw you rush out in a panic, not even wearing shoes. I was so worried about you, how could I think of anything else? As a woman, Lieu Shi understood He's resentment. If she were in He's place, seeing her husband rush to another woman's room at night, who could stay happy? Besides, He hadn't done anything to harm her. I appreciate your concern, but the third young master should listen to his wife and return to rest. I can handle the south courtyard myself. The third young master still looked worried. Before leaving, he carefully instructed Lieu Shi. Then be careful. If anything happens, call someone immediately. And remember what I told you tonight. The last sentence was whispered so low it was nearly inaudible. Lieu Shi was puzzled. Was he telling her to come to him for help? The third young master and the third wife left. The others who had gathered to watch the commotion also quietly returned to their rooms. In an instant, the once crowded courtyard was left with only Lieu Shi, Chan, and a cleaning servant. Chan knelt down, weeping. It's my fault for not guarding properly. I've failed you, mistress. Punish me however you wish, just don't send me away. Seeing Chan's tear-streaked face, Lieu Shi felt sympathy. But she remembered the eldest young master's warning. Never trust anyone in the mansion. She hesitated, unsure how to handle Chan. Mistress, I wasn't lazy or sleeping on duty. I was waiting for you to return, then suddenly felt so sleepy I passed out without realizing. Lieu Shi nodded and said, Since I came to this mansion, I've only had the title of elder wife. The servants despised me, but you never looked down on me. You helped me through so much. I value your loyalty and have trusted you with many tasks. But tonight's incident is serious. You made a mistake. I must be fair in rewards and punishments, so others in the mansion will see. Chan hugged Lieu Shi's legs, pleading. I've been an orphan since childhood with no family. Please don't send me away. You know you care for me the most. Lieu Shi nodded in agreement. Until the truth was revealed, she couldn't keep Chan as her close attendant. What's your name? The servant girl sweeping the yard, hearing Lieu Shi call her, quickly knelt. Madam, my name is Lin. For the next few days, you'll manage the south courtyard in Chan's place. Lin never expected to suddenly gain the elder wife's trust. She quickly bowed in thanks. Yes, madam. I won't disappoint you. As for Chan, for now you'll handle laundry and kitchen duties. Both of you go rest. This courtyard can be cleaned tomorrow morning. After giving her orders, Lieu Shi lay down to sleep. The night's events had drained her energy. As she rested her head on her arm, she thought. She had 2 reasons for assigning the task to Lin. First, if Chan had truly betrayed her, she needed to be cautious. Second, if Chan was loyal, moving her away was protection. Remembering the exploding vat earlier, Lieu Shi grew more fearful. If she had returned just a little later, would Chan have survived? She didn't want to endanger her. That night, Lieu Shi slept poorly, plagued by nightmares. In her dream, cries and curses echoed. The vampire's snake-like eyes stared at her, its voice venomous. I curse you, no family will claim you, your husband will abandon you, childless and alone until death. Then it used its long, sharp nails to stab into her neck. Lieu Shi fought back, using her hands to grab its throat. Somehow, she found strength, twisted once, and snapped the vampire's neck. The fresh blood made her feel exhilarated. Just as she was about to drink it, she jolted awake. The thin blanket around her was soaked with sweat. Lieu Shi curled on her side, hugging the blanket tightly. The dream felt like an omen, keeping her awake. The curse haunted her more and more. She feared being abandoned by her mother and husband. She had finally gained their affection. She didn't want to be alone again. Lieu Shi decided to get up, went to the tea table, lit an oil lamp, and began reading. The book was old, its cover worn, seemingly from a distant era. According to the book, Nai talismans were a mysterious spiritual art existing for about 8,000 years. In the Atlantean civilization before the current one, shamans used Nai to pray. As time passed, spiritual energy became scarcer, limiting cultivation. Each religion and ethnicity had its own mystical arts. In their country, many existed, some native, others imported, like the southern sect from India, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, the immortalist sect from China, Tibet, or the unique arts of northern mountain tribes. Each had strengths and weaknesses. These arts weren't inherently good or evil. It depended on the user's intent. The author added a small note. When cultivating Nai, it should be kept in a secluded place. If others found out, the Nai's spirit could be stolen, rendering it useless. Madame, who had been very careful, hiding the Nai in the abattoir. So the chance of an outsider stealing it was low. It could only be someone inside the mansion, especially someone with status who could freely enter and steal the Nai's spirit. Suddenly, Lieu Shi remembered what the third young master said at the archive pavilion. He also read books about Nai? Could this be a real coincidence? Even if it was He, the vat had been destroyed. Where could she find evidence now? Lieu Shi couldn't arbitrarily send people to search the north courtyard where He lived. That would be like beating the grass to scare the snake. He might have already hidden the remaining realgar powder elsewhere. With only 2 days left, she couldn't search every corner of the Hu mansion. A bold idea suddenly flashed in Lieu Shi's mind. She closed the book, smiling faintly. If it really was He, she would surely show her tail while hiding her head. The next morning, Lin brought tea and cakes to the room. Seeing Lieu Shi preparing a bag, she asked, "Madam, are you going out?" Lieu Shi nodded. "Yes, I'm going to buy some things. Just leave them on the table. I'll eat and leave." Lin placed the items down, then sweetly flattered. "What are you buying, madam? Just tell me, I'll get it for you. You're managing the mansion now, so busy. No need to go out and tire yourself." Lin still couldn't believe she had become the elder wife's trusted servant. Overjoyed, she tried every way to please Lieu Shi. No need. Just manage the south courtyard well. Lin was clever. Seeing Lieu Shi's response, she stepped back and whispered, "Yes, madam. If you need anything, just call me. I wish you a pleasant breakfast." Lieu Shi nodded without replying. She sat down to eat, rested a while, then went to the market. She went to a famous herbal shop in the East Market, which sold medicinal herbs and dried animals and insects for medicine. "Master, do you sell live snakes?" The shopkeeper, surprised that a young girl asked for live snakes, still asked. "King Cobra for wine medicine for your husband? What kind do you need?" "How many?" Lieu Shi shook her head, smiling. "Not dried snakes for medicine, I mean live snakes. Do you have them?" The shopkeeper hesitated, glanced around, then asked quietly, "What do you need live snakes for?" Lieu Shi knew he feared she'd use the snakes to harm someone. If a murder occurred, the authorities might trace it back to his shop. She explained, "Don't worry. I won't use them to harm anyone. I'll also need you to remove the venom. I'll pay you well." She smiled and added, "There's a concubine in my house who doesn't know her place. I just want to scare her a little." The shopkeeper understood, stroking his mustache. "I don't have live snakes on hand, but I have a source. I can get as many as you want. Can you get 10 snakes before noon?" Seeing a big customer, the shopkeeper proudly patted his chest. "Of course. Old Nyo here is well known in the village. Don't worry. And since you're a woman, I'll even deliver them to your home. Lieu Shi placed 2 silver ingots on the table. The heavy sound made the shopkeeper's eyes light up. She added, I'll wait here. I'll give you extra when it's done. Just put all the snakes in one vat and seal the top tightly. The shopkeeper beamed. This is simple. I'll go get the snakes for you right away. He then called into the back. Tao, come out and watch the shop for me. Before leaving, he told Lieu Shi she could ask his daughter for anything else she wanted to buy. She knows all the herbs well and will advise you kindly. Lieu Shi nodded and greeted the shopkeeper. She had guessed right. Herbal shops like this one definitely sold live snakes. They just didn't display them openly, since such items were forbidden by the court. While waiting for the shopkeeper to return, Lieu Shi chatted with his daughter to pass the time. The girl was about Chan's age, bright and clever. Can you really identify all the medicines in the shop? Yes, she replied. On the ground floor, we display dried insects and small animals for soaking in wine or making medicine. If you want herbs, go upstairs. We have rare suppliers. Other shops might not carry what we have. Lieu Shi, intrigued, decided to go upstairs since she had nothing else to do. Indeed, the second floor was even more packed. Medicinal ingredients filled every small cabinet. Lieu Shi wandered around, checking if anything caught her eye. As she passed a shelf, she caught a familiar scent, the same fragrance that had clung to the pill during the grave soil mission. She quickly pointed to a cloth-wrapped bundle and asked, What is this? Tao opened the cabinet and unwrapped it. The more Lieu Shi smelled it, the more certain she was. This was the same scent. This is opium resin, extracted from poppies in the deep forests of northwest Vietnam. It's rarer than gold. We only get a few taels a year. This is the last piece we have left for the year. Lieu Shi grabbed Tao's hand and asked, Is your family the only one in the village selling this? I can assure you, no more than 3 households in the entire province sell it. Yellow and white resin are common, but this is purple, extremely rare. So rare? What does it do? Seeing Tao hesitate, Lieu Shi slipped a silver ingot into her palm, encouraging her. Go on, tell me. I promise to keep it secret. I won't tell a soul. Like father, like daughter. With silver in hand, Tao happily revealed. It's rare because it's banned. Any family caught growing it will be arrested by officials. This flower has medicinal properties. Eating small amounts of yellow or white flowers can relieve pain and cure illness. But too much or touching the purple flower, then you're in danger. It causes hallucinations, makes you lose your mind, turns you into someone else entirely. Hearing this, Lieu Shi finally understood the plot against her. Someone had put opium resin into the pill madam who gave her. When she swallowed it, she would hallucinate, fall into delirium. While she was lost in desire, the gravediggers would take advantage of her. In Baishan village, the custom was that if a married woman committed adultery, she would be locked in a pig cage and thrown into the river. Even in death, she wouldn't rest. She'd become a wandering ghost beneath the water. Whoever devised this plan was truly cruel, leaving Lieu Shi no way out. But man's plans often fail against fate. Fortunately, Lieu Shi had accidentally dropped the pill, and the corpse-eating catfish swallowed it, driving itself mad. Then Old One was infected by the catfish's venom and lost his sanity, killing his own comrades. Has anyone else bought opium resin from your family recently? Tao fell silent. After a moment, she said, This involves my family's business. I can't tell you. But I can say the buyer was a woman. Lieu Shi knew further questioning was useless. She nodded, bought a few more herbs as a thank you to Tao, and waited. True to his word, the shopkeeper returned by noon, accompanied by another man carrying a large vat. He was about to open the lid for Lieu Shi to inspect, but she stopped him. No need. I can already smell the fishy scent of snake skin from inside. No need to waste time checking. At noon, the Hu family servants saw the elder wife return from the market, followed by 2 men carrying a tightly sealed vat. Everyone was curious. Lieu Shi ordered Lin to summon Madame Hu, the 3rd young master, and the 3rd wife, announcing she had found the mastermind behind the theft. Then she commanded all servants in the mansion to gather at the south courtyard. No one was to be left out. Anyone who dared skip would be expelled. There was an empty room in the south courtyard. Lieu Shi ordered the men to carry the snake-filled vat inside. The servants had to line up outside. Only when called by name could a person enter. When Madame Hu, the 3rd young master, and the 3rd wife arrived, They saw all the servants gathered in the courtyard and wondered what Lieu Shi was doing, making such a loud fuss. Entering the room, they saw Lieu Shi standing beside a large vat. He spoke first. "Mother, the third young master and I were napping. Why did you call us here?" Lieu Shi smiled. Her eyes sparkled, drawing others' gaze. She confidently said, "Of course, to catch the thief who stole Mother's nai. If Mother knew who mixed her nai's spirit, she'd skin that person alive." He felt uneasy as Lieu Shi mocked her. Could Lieu Shi know something? But she had destroyed all evidence. Even the leftover realgar powder had been thrown into the river by Non. Reassured, he smirked. "You mean you're going to catch a thief with this vat?" Lieu Shi nodded. "Yes. With Mother's permission, I'll begin now. I hope Mother will stay and witness this." Even Madame, who was curious. She sat on the bamboo chair Lieu Shi had prepared and said, "Fine. Let's see what you're capable of. Don't turn out to be an empty drum making loud noise." Lieu Shi smiled. "I only hope that when the time comes, Mother will punish the thief severely, setting an example for all servants." Madame, who sipped her tea calmly. "Of course." Lieu Shi walked toward the vat, speaking as she went. "We'll start with those who had access to the abattoir to steal the nai. Madame Bai Tai, you two come up." She didn't call for Din Tang, as he had been away on business for Madame Hu for over a week. Madame Bai was annoyed to be suspected, but didn't dare oppose Lieu Shi. "Go ahead and check. I'm innocent. Wait there. Tai, put your hand into the vat." Tai thought it was a big deal, but seeing how simple it was, he quickly approached the vat. As he leaned down, he saw the snakes wriggling inside and panicked, falling backward. "Snakes! Snakes! She's going to kill me." Lin, having been instructed by Lieu Shi, immediately stuffed a rag into Tai's mouth. Tai kowtowed, begging Lieu Shi for mercy. Lieu Shi calmly said, "These snakes are under my spell. If you stole the item, they'll bite your hand off. If you're innocent, they won't touch you." Tai, terrified but more afraid of being expelled from the Hu mansion, had no choice. Despite the family's dark reputation, servants here never lacked food or clothes, earned high wages, and could even send money home and save for a wife and ox later. Tai looked into the vat again. A king cobra had crawled to the top, its head flared, tongue flicking as if about to spit venom at him. If this were the old elder wife, Tai wouldn't have feared her. But lately, everyone in the mansion respected her authority. Besides Madame Hu, her word was the most powerful. She now held management rights over the entire household. Tai closed his eyes and thrust his hand into the vat. Slimy snake bodies immediately slithered up his arm. One flicked its tongue, making his skin crawl. "Eh!" Tai screamed in fear. Lieu Shi had been observing closely. Knowing he was innocent, she said, "You can pull your hand out." "It's not Tai." Tai felt like he'd been pardoned. He quickly shook the disgusting snakes off and kowtowed to thank Lieu Shi. Lieu Shi knew Tai was involved in the opium-tainted pill incident. This was a warning. Next, Madame Bai. Madame Bai had already endured the worm vat punishment. A few snakes meant nothing to her. Without hesitation, she put her hand into the vat. The snakes coiled up both her arms. "It's not her." Madame Bai snorted. "How could I steal from Madame?" He saw Lieu Shi's gaze turn to her and snapped. "What are you looking at me for? Do you think everyone is as lowly as you? My family's lineage is noble. How could I steal from Mother?" Lieu Shi smiled calmly. "Third wife, stay calm. I'm not accusing anyone. If you want to prove your innocence, go ahead. If not..." Lieu Shi deliberately left the sentence unfinished, only smiling more brightly at He. He didn't know if the snakes could actually identify the thief. Maybe Lieu Shi was just bluffing to scare her into confessing. "You can have your close servant try first." He's hand, hidden in her sleeve, was soaked with sweat. She forced her face to stay calm. "Fine. Non, do as the elder wife says." Non turned pale. He quickly explained, not forgetting to insult Lieu Shi. "She's been afraid of snakes since childhood. Elder sister-in-law, your heart is truly cruel to come up with such a scheme." Lieu Shi kept smiling. "Third wife flatters me. For those who harm me, I'll repay double." Non knew she had no way out. If she refused, Miss He would destroy her entire family. Non closed her eyes. Her hands trembling, she slowly put them into the vat. She braced herself, but unexpectedly, the snakes seemed terrified of her. None dared coil around her arms, as if something poisonous on her repelled them. Lieu Shi knew the fish was caught. She clapped her hands. "Well done. Servants, arrest Non. She's the thief." Ji stood stunned, not understanding. She stepped forward. But Nan wasn't bitten and lost her hand. Lieu Shi curled her lips, her beautiful eyes mocking Ji like a fool. The snakes in the vat aren't under any spell. It was Nan who betrayed herself. Now it's your turn, Ji. What did you say? I said the snakes in the vat have no spells on them. Now it's your turn to prove your innocence. Ji trembled with fear, her legs wobbling as if she might collapse. Lieu Shi pointed at Madame Bai and Tai, who were standing nearby, and said, "Do you know what snakes fear most? It's realgar powder." Madame Bai and Tai never touched realgar, so the snakes coiled around their arms. But Nan had used realgar before. The snakes smelled it and avoided her. Ji still stubbornly argued, "You're just making things up. Mother's Nai was stolen 2 days ago. Even if she had realgar on her, it would have washed off by now. How could the scent still remain?" Lieu Shi looked straight at Ji and firmly said, "You're afraid to try. If realgar touches water, it causes skin to peel, even burns. If I'm not mistaken, you sent Nan to sneak into the south courtyard, sprinkle realgar on the vat, and pour wine on it, didn't you? Every item taken from the mansion is recorded in the household ledger." As she spoke, Lieu Shi signaled to Lin, who immediately presented the household expenditure ledger to Madame Hu. Lieu Shi had already marked the entry, making it easy for Madame Hu to see. On the night of the 8th day of the 8th lunar month, the third wife sent someone to take 3 jars of wine. Anticipating Ji's excuse, Lieu Shi cut her off. "Don't say you or the third young master drank wine that night. I've checked the records for the past few months. Neither of you has ever drunk wine. Besides, that night, before the Nai vat exploded, I met the third young master at the archive pavilion." Lieu Shi stepped toward Ji, grabbed her hand, and said, "Now, to see who's innocent, just put your hand in the vat." Only then did Ji understand Lieu Shi's intention. She thought she'd covered her tracks perfectly, never expecting to be caught. Looking at the slimy, writhing snakes, she felt disgusted. Making her put her hand in there was worse than killing her. "Elder sister-in-law, I admit it. You've gone too far. I won't touch those disgusting things." Lieu Shi hadn't expected Ji to confess so quickly. She smiled and asked, "You had the heart to harm others, but not the courage to face the consequences?" Ji had lived a life of luxury since childhood, never scolded by her parents. This was the first time someone had dared to lecture her. Humiliated, she slapped Lieu Shi's hand away and screamed, "It's all your fault. Ever since that night, the third young master has been like a lost soul. Once, I saw him staring at you from afar, then going to the kitchen to personally make a snack and send it to the south courtyard. A sly fox like you must have done something to my husband." The third young master, sitting beside Madame Hu, had been silently watching the drama. Hearing this, he angrily rushed over and covered Ji's mouth. "Ji, what nonsense are you saying? Have I ever treated you badly or beaten you?" Ji, tears streaming down her face, looked up into his eyes and asked, "But do you love me?" The third young master stood frozen, unable to answer his wife's question for a long time. Lieu Shi never expected this. In her memory, this was only the 4th time she'd met the third young master. The first was when the eldest young master possessed his body. The second was at the archive pavilion, when he subtly hinted that Ji was behind the Nai theft. The third was when the Nai vat exploded. She had thought Ji was just jealous of the possession incident, never imagining. Madame Hu slammed the table, threw her teacup at Lieu Shi, and shouted, "Lieu Shi, you're too clever. I underestimated you. Using one hand to win the eldest young master's favor, the other to seduce the third young master. Is that it?" Thankfully, the tea wasn't hot, but it still soaked Lieu Shi's sleeve. She cried out in injustice. "Heaven and earth bear witness. I have nothing with the third young master. I'm loyal only to the eldest young master." Madame Hu sneered, her sharp phoenix eyes glaring at Lieu Shi. "Only heaven knows your true heart. I knew from the start that beautiful women like you are never good. You're unworthy of being first wife. Madame Bai announced from now on, Lieu Shi is demoted to concubine, Bao Tu becomes first wife." Lieu Shi couldn't believe how quickly the situation had turned upside down, leaving her unable to react. "Tai, throw her into this snake vat for 7 days and 7 nights. Guard it well. Anyone who dares approach or help her, report to me immediately." Tai, still resentful from earlier, happily replied, "Yes, madam." He rushed toward Lieu Shi, about to tie her hands with rope, when suddenly, someone kicked him hard in the stomach. Tai vomited blood, collapsing to the ground. He stared in shock at the tall man before him, none other than the gentle third young master. Normally, he couldn't even tie a chicken properly. Before Tai could wonder, the third young master spoke, but Lieu Shi would never mistake that voice, even in death. It was the voice of her own eldest young master. "You dare touch my wife, you lowly worm? You're the eldest young master." With the eldest young master present, Lieu Shi felt instantly safe, as if her strength had been renewed. Madame who didn't care whether Lieu Shi and the third young master were truly involved. She only felt threatened by Lieu Shi's intelligence and skill. She wanted to use this moment to crush Lieu Shi, demote her to concubine, lower her status, and let Bao Tu suppress her. The eldest young master had been away for a week. This was the perfect chance to undermine Lieu Shi. She never expected this girl to be so lucky. After dealing with Tai, the eldest young master turned to Ji, grabbed her throat, and threatened. "You foolish, jealous woman. I've already negotiated with the third young master. Every now and then, he'll let me borrow his body to do things for my wife." Ji, dazed, struggled to speak. I can't. You never told me, third young master." The eldest young master tightened his grip, coldly saying, "When did the affairs of two brothers become something I need to report to a woman like you? What has Lieu Shi ever done to you? Yet you harmed her." Ji felt herself unable to breathe. She knew the eldest young master wouldn't spare her. She could die at any moment. She quickly burst into tears, begging, "Please, eldest young master. I know I'm wrong. Please spare me this time." Unmoved by her tears, the eldest young master lifted Ji like a frog and threw her into the snake vat. "You harmed my wife first, then turned yourself into the victim. Clever. Today I'll teach you a lesson." Though Ji's hands had realgar on them, the vat was already crowded. Adding her made it even tighter, driving the snakes into a frenzy. Some coiled tightly around her body, others spat venom into her face. Hey! Snakes! Snakes! Save me! Save me!" Ji screamed once, then fainted from terror. Madame Hu, watching from her seat, was horrified. She rushed to stop the eldest young master, but it was too late. She shouted, "Eldest son, have you gone mad? Do you know who she is? She's the daughter of Mr. Feng in the province. He controls all our business connections. If anything happens to her, you and Lieu Shi will pay." The eldest young master remained calm. He knew the snakes had been devenomed. Knowing Lieu Shi's nature, he was sure she wouldn't kill. He only wanted to scare the woman, so she'd never harm his wife again. "Mother, don't worry, she won't die." Though furious at her son, Madame Hu cared more for Ji's life. She quickly ordered, "Hurry, pull Ji out." While others panicked over Ji, the eldest young master remained calm. He walked to Lieu Shi and asked, "Lieu Shi, has anyone hurt you?" Lieu Shi was still stunned by his actions, unable to answer. He asked again, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, you were so cool." Seeing the admiration and respect in Lieu Shi's eyes, the eldest young master felt a surge of joy. A man's greatest happiness is earning his wife's respect. "But you took a big risk. Weren't you afraid the snakes would kill her?" The eldest young master shook his head, confidently saying, "She won't die. I used just the right force, and the snakes were already devenomed." Then he looked at Lieu Shi gently. "Go back to your room. I'll handle things here. Prepare yourself. These next few days, I'll be staying at home." Hearing him say home, Lieu Shi felt warmth in her heart. She nodded gratefully. So much had happened in the past week. She wanted to talk and share her heart with her husband. Just as she was about to bow and leave, she heard his voice in her mind. "Tonight, be ready. You still owe me our wedding night." Lieu Shi blushed, silently scolding him for being so shameless while discussing something serious. "You don't be so sly." The eldest young master burst into loud laughter. The servants around had no idea why he was so happy, and even Madame, who was surprised. Her eldest son had always been silent and stubborn since childhood, rarely smiling, so she had always favored the third young master more. In this matter, Lieu Shi has suffered great injustice. Besides, surely mother doesn't want that woman to carry the shame of theft. If you want things to settle quietly, it's not hard. I think Lieu Shi is quite capable of managing the mansion. What do you think, mother? Madame, who turned pale with rage as the eldest young master openly pressured her. Knowing she had no other choice, she swallowed her pride and forced a smile, reluctantly issuing the order. "Madame Bai, go announce downstairs. Starting today, the elder wife will have full authority over household management. No one in this room is allowed to speak a single word of today's events." Lieu Shi considered this a stroke of luck. unexpectedly gaining full control of the mansion. She bowed and thanked Madame Hu. Daughter-in-law will not disappoint mother. There are still matters in the south courtyard. May I take my leave first? Lieu Shi propped herself up, face to face with him. She smiled and said, I'm so happy I can hold you like this. Do you know, even in my dreams, I never dared to imagine it. I'm always ready to listen to everything you tell me. The eldest young master saw her staring at him, her large, round eyes like a little rabbit's, making him want to tease her. He said, The first time we met, you looked at me like an enemy. I even thought you found me ugly. Lieu Shi quickly waved her hands. I didn't. You're very handsome. You were just so fierce back then, I was terrified. He raised his hand to touch Lieu Shi's beautiful face. When his hand finally made contact with her soft skin, it trembled. He pressed his lips to her nose and whispered, So now, will you indulge me a little, Lieu Shi? His face so close made Lieu Shi flustered, her face turning as red as a ripe GC fruit. She quickly pushed him away, pulling the blanket between them, stammering, You have to explain it clearly first. How did you get this body? Lieu Shi could clearly sense he wasn't human, but still a ghost. Yet he could touch her. This defied natural laws. He must have paid a heavy price. She couldn't let him suffer more. Seeing Lieu Shi's firm attitude, the eldest young master knew he wouldn't be allowed to touch her unless he explained. He sighed and said, Have you heard of the Five Elements ghost? Lieu Shi frowned, asking, No, what is the Five Elements ghost? As he gently stroked Lieu Shi's long, soft hair, the eldest young master explained, Ghosts and spirits have many ways to cultivate greater power. But the common point is that their essence exists as energy with vibrations different from living humans. I've discovered a method, the Five Elements ghost, to transform that vibrational state into physical matter. Right now, I'm only a first element ghost. The highest level is the Five-element ghost. My current form won't last long. With that, he pressed his lips to hers, beginning to dominate, stealing the sweetness from her. Spring nights are short, Lieu Shi. You must learn to enjoy them. Don't let the moment pass. She was startled by his sudden intimacy, punching his chest, indignant. You don't be so shameless. Shameless or not, I'm still your husband. As he spoke, he rolled over, pinning Lieu Shi beneath him. The next morning, Lieu Shi woke up to find only a pile of muddy, blood-red sludge beside her. The young master was long gone. She had long known he was a ghost, only able to appear at night, but she couldn't suppress the sense of loss in her heart. The Baigui Jing Shu, Book of 100 Ghosts, stated, Ghosts greatly fear sunlight, which can burn away all their yin energy. If a ghost must appear during the day, it must hide beneath an object. For example, during their wedding ceremony, the young master had to perform the rites in the form of a paper effigy. As for the Five Elements ghost, Lieu Shi had never read about it. Perhaps it was in the second volume of the scripture. She remembered that the Baigui Jing Shu she had read was the upper volume. The lower volume remained missing no matter how hard she searched. But Lieu Shi understood that the young master had defied the natural laws of heaven and earth by transforming from a spirit into a physical form. He must have paid a heavy price. She also knew her own limits. For now, all she could do was grow stronger as quickly as possible, so she could one day help him. Mistress, are you awake? I've brought breakfast. Wait a moment for me. Hearing Chan knock, Lieu Shi quickly grabbed her robe and put it on. Fortunately, the 5-panel dress was very modest, with a high collar that conveniently covered the love marks from the previous night. Otherwise, if Chan found out, she'd die of embarrassment. After dressing, Lieu Shi covered the bed with a blanket. She'd clean it herself later when Chan left. Come in. Yes, mistress. Chan entered, carrying the breakfast tray. As she set it down, she noticed the dark circles under Lieu Shi's eyes and asked with concern, Did you not sleep well last night? Lieu Shi blushed slightly and replied, I'm fine. You can leave it here. I'll serve myself. Go have your own breakfast. Lieu Shi was no longer the helpless newcomer she once was. Chan no longer dared tease her. After wishing Lieu Shi a good meal, she quietly left. After finishing breakfast, Lieu Shi had just put her chopsticks down when Madame Bai arrived at the south courtyard with a stack of ledgers. Her attitude toward Lieu Shi had become much more respectful. She smiled warmly. Elder wife, these are the household management ledgers Madame ordered me to bring. Please take a look. If anything is unclear, just ask me. After everything she'd been through, Lieu Shi had learned one truth. There were no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. Making things difficult for Madame by now would serve no purpose, and only earn her a reputation for being harsh towards servants. Instead, she could use Madame Bai as her eyes and ears, making it easier to manage the household. Lieu Shi nodded and said, "I understand. Just leave them there." Madame Bai, relieved that Lieu Shi wasn't punishing her further, still hesitated and asked, "I was wrong to you before." Lieu Shi raised her hand, firmly saying, "There's no need to bring up the past. We'll both be in this mansion for decades. If we keep dwelling on old grudges, we'll never move forward. As long as you serve the Hu family wholeheartedly, I won't treat you poorly. Just continue doing your duties as before. Report to me every 3 days." Madame Bai never expected to keep her authority. She quickly knelt and kowtowed in gratitude. "This is too kind of you, elder wife. I swear I'll serve you with complete loyalty." Madame Bai left, overjoyed. Lieu Shi focused on the ledgers. She had often heard rumors that the Hu family was the richest in Lang region, but only after reading the accounts did she truly understand their wealth. Just the expenses for festivals like Mid-Autumn, Lunar New Year, and ancestral rites had already exceeded 100 taels of gold. The more Lieu Shi read, the more curious she became. Why was the Hu family so wealthy? Was it really just from fabric trade? Although she hadn't found the lower volume of the Bai Gui Jing Shu before, Lieu Shi didn't give up. She decided to search again. She spent the entire afternoon searching, but still found nothing. She wondered if the contents of the lower volume were forbidden knowledge, only accessible in the inner chamber of the archive pavilion, a place only those with Hu bloodline could enter. As a daughter-in-law, she had no right to go there. As Lieu Shi sadly returned, she coincidentally met Madame Bai, who respectfully said, "Elder wife, Madame has summoned you to the west courtyard." "All right, lead the way." Though she had been a daughter-in-law for over 3 months, this was the first time Lieu Shi had entered the west courtyard, the private residence of Madame Hu. According to the rules left by the Hu ancestors, after the eldest son took power, he would live in the east courtyard, the eldest daughter-in-law in the west courtyard, and the younger sons and daughters in the south and north courtyards. The branch families lived in the remote courtyard, the most isolated part of the mansion, with no authority. Servants would bring them meals, and they lived in basic comfort. Lieu Shi had heard from Chan that the eldest son had died young, before the eldest young master passed, which was why Madame Hu could rule the Hu mansion with such absolute power. Indeed, this was the residence of the matriarch. Lieu Shi had thought the south courtyard was luxurious, but it was nothing compared to even a corner of the west courtyard. The west courtyard was decorated like a miniature palace, with artificial mountains, a large pond filled with lotuses and ornamental fish, a diamond-shaped bridge crossing the pond, and a small pavilion in the middle for resting in the shade. Madame Bai led Lieu Shi to the pavilion. From afar, she saw Madame Hu tossing bread to the fish. Without turning around, Madame Hu simply asked, "You're here, Lieu Shi?" Lieu Shi bowed. "Yes, mother. Sit down." Though Madame Hu said this, she remained standing, so Lieu Shi dared not sit. She stood quietly to the side, watching Madame Hu feed the fish. She thought to herself that Madame Hu truly knew how to enjoy life. In the entire mansion, only the west courtyard felt free of energy or soldiers, refreshing and serene. Looking closely, she noticed Madame Hu had wiped off her thick makeup. She no longer looked sharp and stern, but revealed a rare gentleness. After finishing feeding the fish, Madame Hu warmly pulled Lieu Shi onto a stone bench and said, "The previous matter caused you great injustice." Lieu Shi politely replied, "I'm happy just knowing mother understands." Madame Hu stroked Lieu Shi's delicate hands and sighed softly. "I hope you understand a mother's heart. He Ji is the daughter of Mr. Feng, a high-ranking official in the province. Before I do anything, I must consider her parents' face. Being a merchant isn't easy. Offending officials means instant arrest." If this were the old Lieu Shi, she would have believed Madame Hu's seemingly sincere words. Now, she only smiled inwardly while outwardly replying, "Yes, daughter-in-law understands." Madame Hu happily said, "No wonder the eldest young master chose you. You're so understanding. Have a lotus cake. I just had the kitchen make them this morning." Lieu Shi forced a smile and picked up a cake. "Please, mother." Madame Hu nodded, then suddenly sighed deeply. Lieu Shi knew she was about to assign her a task, but had no choice but to play along and ask. "Mother seems troubled." Madame Hu finally began. "It's like this. Magistrate Zheng in the province has a problem at home. His family members have been sick for a long time, dying every few days. He sent someone to ask for my help. He's helped our business greatly, so I had to accept. But as you know, my health has been declining. Even walking tires me. Din Tang hasn't returned from fetching fabric. This task will have to fall to you. Lieu Shi had heard of Magistrate Zheng, a 7th-rank official in the province. Someone so powerful seeking help from Madame, who made her suspect the matter wasn't simple. Hence why Madame, who was passing it to her. Lieu Shi tried to politely decline. I'm afraid I'll ruin such an important task for Mother. Madame, who was slightly displeased but calmly continued. After the task, Magistrate Zheng will gift our Hu family an ancient baitan, white sandalwood, tree trunk left over from the time of Emperor Ding. An ancient white sandalwood trunk from the Ding dynasty? Lieu Shi recalled that Madame whose name was Ding Min. Could there be a connection? Seeing Lieu Shi silent, Madame whose expression turned serious. Do you know why I need this wood? Lieu Shi shook her head. Madame who raised her teacup, sipping as she explained. Isn't it for the eldest young master? He stubbornly chose to practice the 5 elements ghost technique to give you a complete married life, defying the natural order of yin and yang. Heaven sent lightning to punish him. Ghosts fear lightning most. If he hadn't luckily survived, his soul would have shattered. Lieu Shi was horrified. Madame who smirked and continued. He's now an earth ghost, his body formed from the soil of his grave. Because he's made of earth, he fears water and fire most. Water can soften the soil, and fire can burn it to ash. Remember this weakness. The eldest young master has it because of you. To advance to 2nd element ghost, he needs the ancient baitan wood. If he doesn't quickly increase his cultivation, and heaven's lightning discovers him again, no one will save him this time. Now Lieu Shi understood. No wonder her bed was covered in mud this morning. The young master's spirit body, formed from earth, had dissolved back into its original form when its time ran out. This time, I'll let the eldest young master go with you. Remember, this mission must succeed at all costs. Lieu Shi obeyed, asking permission to prepare. She would depart with the young master that night. As Madame who watched Lieu Shi's slender figure leave, she revealed a sinister smile and whispered, Very soon, the great cause of the Ding family will be fulfilled. Lieu Shi was anxious and immediately ordered her servants to prepare a carriage that night to depart for the provincial capital. The journey from the Hu family to the province took about 3 hours by carriage. Lieu Shi felt worried. Right now, she only knew the basics. All her knowledge came from books. She hadn't had much practical experience. And yet Madame, who had sent her to the residence of a high-ranking official. How could she not be afraid? Don't be afraid. I'll help you. Lieu Shi didn't dare look at him. Thinking back to how shameless he had been the previous night, she blushed with both shyness and anger, pretending to lift the curtain to admire the sky and scenery outside the carriage. Yes. Hunam, seeing Lieu Shi ignore him, grumbled. Why won't you look at me when we're talking? Lieu Shi quickly made up an excuse. I'm checking if the weather and time are favorable for tonight's task. Hunam snorted. Instead of praying to heaven and earth, why not just ask me to guide you? Lieu Shi clasped her hands. Then please instruct me further. Just think simply. Whether it's the living or the dead, if you find the root cause, you can solve it. Just like treating an illness, you must diagnose correctly to cure it completely. Hearing him, Lieu Shi realized many things. Before, she had only focused on solutions without paying attention to causes, which led to many mistakes. Fortunately, she could still correct them. When Lieu Shi arrived at Magistrate Zheng's gate, a pale-faced man ran out, nearly colliding with her. Luckily, she quickly stepped aside. She walked up to the 2 guards, handed them the letter from Madame Hu, and said, I'm from the Hu family. Please deliver this letter to Magistrate Zheng. The guards seemed to have been briefed. Seeing Lieu Shi's beauty and noble bearing, they didn't suspect her. They bowed and gestured. Please come in, Mississippi. The magistrate has been expecting you. I'll show you the way. Lieu Shi nodded and calmly followed into the magistrate's mansion. No wonder it belonged to a 7th-rank official. Everywhere was filled with rare treasures and luxurious decorations. But in terms of antiquity, it still fell short of the Hu family's mansion. The deeper she went, the stronger the Yin energy became, and a faint stench of rotting corpses lingered in the air. From afar, Lieu Shi saw Magistrate Zheng anxiously pacing near the door. He was over 50. She recognized him by his chewy robe and Liangguan hat, official attire of the Lai dynasty. You are. Before Lieu Shi could speak, Magistrate Zheng asked first. She quickly bowed. Respectfully, I am Lieu Shi of the Hu family, sent by Madame Hu. Seeing Lieu Shi was under 20, The magistrate looked suspicious. Anyone else would have been driven out, but he thought, perhaps the Hu family, deep as a bottomless pit, had sent a hidden master. Lieu Shi handed him the letter. "This is the message from Madame Hu. Please read it." Magistrate Zheng took the letter, opened it, and his expression turned grim. He sneered. "The Hu family truly are ungrateful. Now that the Zheng family is in trouble, you dare to make demands? You've gone too far." Lieu Shi didn't know what was written in the letter to make the magistrate so angry. Before she could react, he added, "Fine. Let's see how capable the Hu family's daughter-in-law really is. If you can't solve this, leave your head here." Madame Hu was truly ruthless. She left Lieu Shi no way out, forcing her to complete this mission. Lieu Shi clenched her fists, lifted her head, and said, "I can help you, but you must promise to follow all my instructions." Seeing Lieu Shi wasn't intimidated by his authority, but instead replied calmly, Magistrate Zheng felt a bit impressed and trusted her more. After all, it was just an ancient artifact from a previous dynasty. If the Hu family could resolve this matter peacefully, he'd give it to them. Otherwise, the Zheng family would face extinction. "Fine. I agree. Please tell me everything that's happened recently in your household." "Come inside." Magistrate Zheng entered first. Lieu Shi followed. A servant offered tea. Seeing the eldest young master nod, she finally picked up the cup. Though the tea was fragrant, it couldn't mask the stench in the mansion. Lieu Shi noticed that the magistrate and servants seemed unaffected. Was she the only one who could smell it? This started 3 months ago. Members of the Zheng family have been dying one after another without reason. The first was my father. He was healthy, then suddenly died. Next was my older brother. His whole body broke out in sores. We called doctors, but none could diagnose it. They said it was a common skin disease. Just apply some ointment and it'll heal. But 3 days later, he died. The third. Here, Magistrate Zheng's voice choked with grief. His eyes filled with sorrow as he continued. My youngest daughter. Suddenly, her mind became unstable. She rambled and raved all day. A month later, she hanged herself in her room. Lieu Shi sympathized with the pain of a parent burying their child. She said, "Please take a sip of tea to moisten your throat." "Take your time." Magistrate Zheng nodded, no longer as stern as before. He sipped the tea and finished. "The current victim is my wife. She has the same skin disease as my brother. We've called every doctor, all saying it's a common skin disease. I've even invited Taoist priests, but all shook their heads, saying the Zheng family's fate is like a dying oil lamp." After hearing this, Lieu Shi felt even more confused. At first, hearing of multiple deaths, she suspected Chongsang a curse. But now, hearing that even Taoist priests had failed, she hesitated. Looking at the eldest young master, she saw his expression was grave. He looked at her, shook his head, and said seriously, "We should leave. This case is beyond us." Lieu Shi was shocked. The eldest young master was a ghost. What kind of spirit could even he not handle? She asked in her mind, "You can't solve this either?" He shook his head. "It's not that. The Zheng family has accidentally offended the underworld. If you get involved, they'll punish you." For any other matter, Lieu Shi would obey. But remembering Madame Hu's words, that the ancient Baitan could help him advance to second element ghost and avoid heavenly lightning, she gritted her teeth and said to Magistrate Zheng, "Can you have someone arrange a room near your wife for me?" Magistrate Zheng immediately agreed. "Of course. Chow, go prepare the northern room for this young lady." The eldest young master's face darkened. He scolded Lieu Shi. "What are you saying? I told you not to get involved." Lieu Shi didn't answer him. She bowed to Magistrate Zheng. "It's late. Your wife is already asleep. I won't disturb her. May I retire to my room?" Seeing Lieu Shi was polite, Magistrate Zheng said nothing, ordering a servant to lead her away. Chow led Lieu Shi to the door and said, "My name is Chow. Miss, you're an honored guest. If you need anything tonight, just call me. I'll be right outside." Lieu Shi nodded. She told Chow to close the door and immediately lay down. The long carriage ride had made her back sore. "Why won't you listen to me?" Seeing the eldest young master angry, Lieu Shi gently said, "Please hear me first. Only by completing this mission will Magistrate Zheng give me what I need. I help him, he repays me. It's a fair exchange." The eldest young master's expression darkened further. Fortunately, he couldn't take physical form, only exist as a ghost spirit. Otherwise, how dare Lieu Shi defy him so boldly? "What do you need from him?" Lieu Shi remembered what Madame Hu had said. She couldn't let the eldest young master know. If he found out she came here for his sake, he'd feel guilty and ashamed. Besides, he was her husband. He had helped her many times. This time, Lieu Shi wanted to do something for him. I can't say. Please help me with this. Hee, I know the eldest young master is the best. Seeing Lieu Shi sweet-talk him, the eldest young master softened and reluctantly agreed. Lieu Shi, seeing his expression lighten, finally dared to ask, "Can you tell me what's happening to the Zheng family?" He replied, "I've only guessed 8 parts. If it's what I think, we'll have the answer by tomorrow night." Lieu Shi grew even more curious. "What is it?" Seeing her curiosity, the eldest young master deliberately stayed silent, punishing her for disobeying him earlier. "For now, listen to me. Rest a bit. At midnight, I'll take you to see something interesting." You. Lieu Shi grumbled at his evasiveness. She thought she'd be unable to sleep in this strange place, but to her surprise, as soon as she closed her eyes, she fell asleep. In her dream, she heard his deep, warm voice. "I can't hold you tonight. Sleep well, Lieu Shi." Fortunately, the eldest young master didn't trick her. At midnight, he woke her. She fought her sleepiness, asking, "Where are you taking me? Just follow me." With that, the eldest young master flew ahead. Lieu Shi quietly opened the door and tiptoed after him. He led her to the wall surrounding the magistrate's mansion and said, "Climb up here." If the eldest young master hadn't been serious, Lieu Shi would have thought he was punishing her for disobeying him earlier. Fortunately, the wall wasn't high, and there was a stone to step on. After some effort, she climbed up. "Look over there." Following his pointing hand, not far away, Lieu Shi saw something like a human-shaped figure crawling on the ground. It was as big as an ox or buffalo. Immediately, she smelled the same stench from earlier. From within it, small white, cloudy worms began to emerge, crawling in a swarm toward the magistrate's mansion. Wherever they went, a slimy, white trail was left on the ground. Covering her mouth in horror, Lieu Shi asked, "Could it be someone has cursed the magistrate's family?" The eldest young master shook his head and replied, "No. The Zheng family has somehow become infested with Chong Shi, corpse worms. That large, fat one leading them is called the Chong Zhu worm ancestor. It's the corpse being controlled by the Chong Shi. Every night, it rises from the grave and crawls to the house of the person it's haunting to harm them. Because every home has a kitchen god guarding the door, and Chong Shi fear fire most, they don't dare enter directly. Instead, they split into smaller worms to avoid detection." Lieu Shi followed the path of the tiny worms with her eyes and saw them crawling toward Lady Zheng's room, fat and wriggling, packed tightly like mushrooms after rain. "Want to keep watching?" Hearing him ask, Lieu Shi nodded. She carefully stepped toward Lady Zheng's room, afraid the Chong Shi would sense her and turn to haunt her instead. From outside, she lifted the curtain and peeked in. She saw the Chong Shi had already crawled onto the bed, one by one entering Lady Zheng's nostrils. Their tentacles sprayed a foul, white fluid all over her face. Her face had turned pale, seemingly struggling to breathe. Seeing the critical situation, Lieu Shi was about to shout and wake everyone in the mansion, but the eldest young master stopped her. He said sternly, "If you scream, you won't just harm her, you'll endanger everyone in this mansion. These Chong Shi are only slowly draining her yang energy. For now, her life isn't in immediate danger." Lieu Shi fearfully nodded repeatedly and asked, "What should I do now?" He replied, "For now, act as if you saw nothing. Return to your room and sleep. Tomorrow morning, when these Chong Shi are dormant inside her body, I'll have a way to destroy them." This time, Lieu Shi listened and turned back to her room. She placed her hand on her head, lost in thought, then suddenly asked, "So the Zheng family isn't suffering from Chong Sang corpse curse. Is that right?" The eldest young master, always by Lieu Shi's side to protect her, immediately answered, "It's both Chong Sang and not quite Chong Sang." Lieu Shi, confused, asked, "Huh? Can you explain more clearly?" "Just understand simply. Chong Sang occurs when a person dies at an inauspicious hour, and the worm god remembers them, dragging their soul back to torment them until they reveal the names, birth dates, and birth times of their family members. So the worm god can claim the next victims. Chong Shi, on the other hand, happens when during burial, the family does something that offends the higher powers, angering them. The higher powers then send Chong Shi soldiers to haunt the entire family until they perish. They don't kill directly. Instead, they slowly drain yang energy, causing illness and slow death, or make the victim's mind go mad from inhaling the Chong Shi's toxic gas, leading to suicide. Lieu Shi nodded and asked further. So how do we eliminate Chongshi? The eldest young master replied. First, tomorrow morning, save Lady Zheng. Chongshi are pure een and fear fire most. Just use fire with herbs like lemongrass, bear root, danmangzi, and xianxia, and you can save her. That's all. The eldest young master shook his head. It can only extend her life by about a year. This method only destroys the smaller worms, the branches. To completely end the Zheng family's disaster, you must find the grave of the first person who died, the Chongzhu, and kill it. Only then will the Zheng family be truly safe. Should I use the same method? The eldest young master's expression turned grave. He said seriously, you can only help them this far. After that, it depends on the Zheng family's fortune. Do you know why my mother and other Taoist priests refused this case? Lieu Shi thought. If it was as simple as the eldest young master described, why wouldn't anyone help Magistrate Zheng? Even Madame, who had passed the task to her. Frowning, she said, could it be because it offends the higher powers? Seeing she had guessed correctly, the eldest young master nodded and smiled. Yes, exactly. The Zheng family has already had their names written on the book of life and death by the worm god. Remember when I told you what happens above happens below? Just as officials in the living world have ranks, so do spirits in the underworld. The worm god is a fourth-rank official responsible for escorting souls to hell. The Chongshi are his soldiers. Killing the small ones is fine, but harming the Chongzhu will anger the worm god. The consequences are too great for any living person to bear. Those others refused the case for their own safety. They wouldn't dare offend the worm god. Lieu Shi found his reasoning sound, but still asked curiously, what about Chongseng then? Don't some priests still help trap the souls? The eldest young master sighed. That's not a true cure. It only delays Chongseng for 5 or 6 generations. By then, descendants have forgotten, so they mistakenly think it's been resolved. Have you heard of shared karma? No. People with shared karma often become family. Everything follows a law. It's not random that one person dies at an inauspicious hour and drags others with them. It's due to karma planted many lifetimes ago, now being repaid in this life. Chongshi is similar. You have good intentions, but that doesn't mean you can save everyone. Hearing this, Lieu Shi felt heavy-hearted. She had already promised to help Magistrate Zheng and wanted to do her best. Though she knew no one could escape the law of karma, she still wanted to lessen the suffering as much as possible. Is there truly no other way? In the court, I don't know what kind of man Magistrate Zheng is, but at home, he deeply respects his father, loves his wife, and cares for his children. If his wife dies early, the Zheng family will collapse. Seeing Lieu Shi's kindness, the eldest young master admired her even more. He knew her life had never been easy. From childhood to marrying him, she had been constantly oppressed by his mother, pushed to the brink of death. Yet she harbored no hatred and still sought to help others. Seeing the bright, hopeful look in her eyes, he couldn't refuse. He could only agree. Tomorrow morning, do as I said. Use a very hot brazier to fumigate her. Bind her tightly so she won't bite her tongue and kill herself. When her body turns bright red, use a needle to prick her fingertips and let the poisoned blood flow out. Then she'll be temporarily safe. Hearing there was hope, Lieu Shi was overjoyed. She wanted to hug him in gratitude, but remembered he was a ghost spirit. She could only say aloud, "Hee, I knew it. The eldest young master may look cold and stern, but you're actually kind-hearted and compassionate." It was the first time someone had called him kind-hearted. Though he felt slightly embarrassed, he was secretly pleased. Still, he kept a calm face and replied, "Don't flatter me. If you don't sleep now, the rooster will crow soon. Tomorrow morning, do exactly as I said. I'll go prepare some things." "Yes, I obey." Lieu Shi happily followed his instructions, pulled the blanket over herself, and dozed off briefly. At dawn, Chow came to call her. Though Liu Ti's actions were reckless, her determined attitude gave others a strong sense of confidence. With no other choice, Magistrate Zheng ordered his servants to follow her instructions. "Madame Ba, go prepare the things she needs." After speaking, Magistrate Zheng stepped out into the courtyard to see how Liu Ti would save his wife. He saw her forehead drenched in sweat from exhaustion, yet she gritted her teeth and persisted in carrying Lady Zheng, struggling to say, "Help me bring out the bamboo cot." The servants quickly brought the cot from inside. Only after Lady Zheng was laid down did Liu Ti realize she didn't know how she had managed to carry her for so long. She had simply resolved to save her at all costs. While waiting for the charcoal and herbs, Liu Ti tightly bound Lady Zheng to the cot with rope, preventing her from fleeing in pain later. Though the eldest young master hadn't explained everything, she understood. Every last small worm had to be destroyed. If even one survived to report back to the Chong Zoo, everyone would be in danger. In a soft voice, Liu Ti encouraged Lady Zheng. Please endure a little longer. I'll do everything I can. Lady Zheng's mind was hazy, half-conscious, but she weakly nodded at Liu Ti. Only those near death truly understood its closeness, and how precious every breath of life was. Under the gentle morning sunlight, Liu Ti faintly saw the Chong Shi beneath Lady Zheng's skin. Some had crawled close to her scalp, preparing to pierce her spinal cord with their tentacles. No wonder her condition had suddenly worsened. Sir, everything is ready. Magistrate Zheng nodded. A servant brought a brazier of glowing red coals before Liu Ti. Another respectfully handed her a cloth-wrapped bundle containing all the herbs she needed. Without hesitation, Liu Ti threw them into the brazier. The herbs caught fire instantly, producing thick green smoke. Liu Ti pushed the brazier under the cot with one hand and used a palm leaf fan in the other to spread the heat evenly. Bring out the large blanket from inside. When the servants brought the blanket, Liu Ti continued. Each of you hold one corner. Cover the cot completely. Covering the cot would trap the heat, forcing the Chong Shi out of Lady Zheng's body faster and reducing her pain. But as 4 servants reached for the corners, Liu Shi suddenly shouted. No. Birth, aging, illness, death, for his death. Only 3 people. Like a tripod, 3 was stable. Liu Shi paid close attention to every smallest detail, hoping to save Lady Zheng's life. Indeed, after the blanket was in place, the air inside grew hotter. Liu Shi's entire body was soaked with sweat, but her small arms kept fanning the brazier without pause. H hot, 2H hot. L let me go. Lady Zheng groaned in agony, thrashing her arms and legs. Fortunately, Liu Shi had ordered her limbs tied and a cloth stuffed in her mouth to prevent her from biting her tongue. The Chong Shi, burned by the intense heat, writhed beneath Lady Zheng's skin. Liu Shi could even hear their screams and wails. From within her body came crackling sounds like bubbles bursting. I can't take it, K kill me. Husband, K kill me. Hearing his wife's agonized cries, Magistrate Zheng's heart shattered. He was about to rush in and lift the blanket, but Liu Shi stopped him. Please stay calm. I'm almost done. Don't let 3 years of chopping would be burned in 1 hour. Hearing this, Magistrate Zheng froze. The proud magistrate, so imposing in court, seemed to shrink. He recalled the evil deeds he had committed, the lives he had ruined. Perhaps this was heaven's retribution. Calmly, Liu Shi comforted Lady Zheng. Just endure a little longer. It's almost over. About an incense stick's time later, Lady Zheng's body turned bright red, like boiled shrimp. Liu Shi saw the Chong Shi had been forced down to her arms. She quickly pulled a silver needle from her belt and said, It will hurt a little. Please bite down on the cloth. After taking a deep breath, Liu Shi heated the silver needle in the coals for a few seconds, then pricked each of Lady Zheng's fingertips. Too painful. I want to kill you. Each fingertip was connected to the heart. Liu Shi dared not be careless. She carefully drew the poisoned blood, which, once outside, turned into white Chong Shi worms, falling to the ground and forming a slimy white puddle. Just as Liu Shi was about to finish the last fingertip, Magistrate Zheng could no longer bear it. He lifted the blanket and rushed in. Seeing the worms on the ground, he froze in terror, speechless. Wind from outside blew in, seemingly reviving the worms. Lady Zheng's little finger turned stone-like. No matter how hard Liu Shi pricked, the needle wouldn't penetrate. The worms seized the chance, crawling back up her arm toward her heart. Seeing the danger, Liu Shi quickly stabbed the silver needle into her own fingertip and declared, I, Liu Shi, use my blood as a conduit, expel the worms. This time, the silver needle pierced Lady Zheng's fingertip. The worms, burned by the brazier's fire, hissed. Daring mortal, you dare ruin the worm god's plan. You will die without peace. We'll see if you live to report it. With that, Liu Shi dumped the brazier of hot coals onto the worms. In an instant, they melted into liquid. Lady Zheng's complexion turned rosy. The black aura between her brows faded. Liu Shi exhaled in relief. For now, it's under control. Overjoyed, Magistrate Zheng ran to embrace his wife, saying happily, Thank goodness you're safe. I was so afraid you'd leave me, like my father and youngest daughter. Lady Zheng, her face kind and gentle, weakly looked up at Liu Shi. We owe our lives to you. We must thank you deeply. Magistrate Zheng nodded. Yes, yes, all thanks to you. I'll send that item directly to the Hu family mansion for you. Lieu Shi replied. You should have someone take Lady Zheng inside to rest first. Magistrate Zheng understood. There was still more to this. He quickly waved his hand. Madame Ba, take her inside. Lady Zheng was exhausted. Before being carried away, she reminded her husband. You mustn't be harsh. Treat our benefactor well. Don't worry. I'll handle everything properly. After Lady Zheng was taken inside, Lieu Shi frowned and honestly told Magistrate Zheng. To be honest, today I only drove the Chongshi out of her body. This method can only last a few days. Your family has been infected by Chongshi. The Chongzu will keep sending more to harm Lady Zheng. Repeating this cycle isn't a real solution. Over time, the Yin energy will accumulate in her body, and she won't survive. Magistrate Zheng quickly grasped the issue and said firmly. Then can we kill the Chongzu? Lieu Shi shook her head. Absolutely not. The Chongzu is linked to the worm god. If we disturb it, not only I, but your entire Zheng family will face immediate disaster. Magistrate Zheng's face filled with sorrow. He knelt and sincerely begged Lieu Shi. You're young but immensely talented. Please save my wife and our heir. I've done many evil deeds and will accept all punishment. A high-ranking official kneeling before her shocked Lieu Shi. She quickly helped him up. Please stand. I will do everything I can. Thank you, thank you. We're counting on you. For now, please go attend to your wife. I need to return to my room to quietly find a way to deal with the Chongshi that will come in the next few days. Magistrate Zheng nodded. Of course. Ask the servants for anything you need. Before leaving, Lieu Shi added one last reminder. For the next few days, watch what Lady Zheng eats. Not all nutritious food is good. To expel the cold energy left by the worms, she should eat warming foods. Every night before bed, give her a bowl of ginger tea. Avoid cold foods like crabs, snails, or anything fishy. And remember, her body is now vulnerable. If Yin energy grows too strong, it will attract evil spirits. With that, Lieu Shi bowed to Magistrate Zheng and left. But she didn't notice. When Magistrate Zheng hurried inside, a Chongshi had crawled onto the hem of his pants. The moment Lieu Shi left, it stirred, its fat body wriggling as if revived. As soon as Lieu Shi entered the room, her entire body lost all strength. She had to grab the edge of a chair to avoid collapsing. Seeing the eldest young master still hadn't returned, she grew worried. Miss, are you all right? Chow, the servant from the Zheng mansion, supported Lieu Shi as she asked. Lieu Shi shook her head. I'm fine. At noon, just bring me some plain porridge and pickled vegetables. I'd like to rest now. Understanding, Chow helped Lieu Shi onto the bed, then respectfully closed the door and left. Lieu Shi's eyelids grew heavy. Her body was utterly exhausted. She fell asleep without even realizing it. After a while, she felt her body become weightless, as if she could float. Could she have left her body? Still disoriented, a white light pulled her toward a secluded mansion. At the gate stood guards with ox heads and horse faces. She was led deep into the hall, where she saw the familiar face of the ancestor and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Before she could greet him, the ancestor sternly warned her. Lieu Shi, leave the Zheng family's mansion immediately. It had been a long time since Lieu Shi had seen the ancestor. Overjoyed, she said, Please, ancestor, show mercy to us mortals. Just tell me how to save the Zheng family. Lady Zheng is kind-hearted. She has done no wrong. The ancestor shook his head. The worm god is not easy to provoke, and he holds grudges. Do you know what happens to those who offend him? Don't meddle in other families' affairs. Hearing this, Lieu Shi refused to accept it. She lifted her head and spoke clearly. Since I began learning the arts, I've always believed I could help others. If I avoid every problem just because someone has high status or power, then what was the point of learning in the first place? The ancestor, hearing this, was momentarily at a loss for words. She continued, Besides, I've checked the fate of Magistrate and Lady Zheng. Neither has reached their end. If they can overcome this disaster, they will do great good in the future, helping people survive famine. The ancestor, seeing Lieu Shi challenge his authority, raised his hand and struck her, sending her flying into a pillar in the middle of the hall. Before, he had saved her several times because he saw she was talented and had a karmic connection to the occult from past lives. He wanted to shape her into a sharp sword to oppose Madame Hu. But what the ancestor hadn't expected was that Lieu Shi would progress so quickly. she could now even read fate. This wasn't normal. Unless she had once learned the arts before and lost all her memories for some reason. Frowning, the ancestor recalled the first time he met Lieu Shi on her wedding day. Back then, she was timid and fearful, likely because something had sealed both her memories and her true personality. After meeting the Sui Vong, something had shaken that seal, making her stronger and more resilient. This Lieu Shi's background wasn't simple. She would surely overcome the worm god incident on her own. The ancestor stepped toward her, helped her up, and smiled. I was just testing you. You're growing stronger. Today, I called you here for another reason. When you return to the Hu mansion, go to the west courtyard. Beneath it, there's a secret passage hidden. Before the ancestor could finish, the eldest young master suddenly appeared, cutting him off. No, it's too dangerous. With a wave of his hand, a gust of wind swept Lieu Shi away from the underworld. In an instant, her soul returned to her body, but it took about an incense stick's time before she could move again. When Lieu Shi opened her eyes, the eldest young master was already beside her, looking at her with a stern expression. You mustn't let others capture your soul again. I already told you, don't trust anyone in the Hu mansion. But the ancestor, the eldest young master sighed. You must understand, someone like the ancestor places his clan's interests above all. Right now, you're useful to the Hu family, so of course he'll help you. But what if you become a threat to them in the future? Though Lieu Shi had sensed this, hearing it from him still made her feel hollow. In her heart, the ancestor still held a special place. When she was most lost, it was him who saved her from Madame Hu's grasp. Thank you. I understand. The eldest young master looked deeply into Lieu Shi's beautiful eyes and said gently, Don't even trust me, understand? You have a long future ahead. You'll fly very far. Don't let yourself be trapped in a narrow cage. Lieu Shi felt as if he was talking about a permanent separation. Panicked, she asked, What are you saying? I believe you'll stay by my side forever. You promised that when I grow old, you'd become an old ghost so I wouldn't feel lonely. The eldest young master nodded. I'll do my best for our future. Let's not talk about this now. I have good news. I found a way to save the Zheng family. Pouting, Lieu Shi huffed. You promised me, so you'd better deliver, dear young master. What's your plan? Seeing Lieu Shi act so playfully, the eldest young master found her incredibly adorable. Affectionately, he said, Right now I can't take physical form, so you'll have to make a substitute effigy yourself. I'll teach you how. Yes, sir. You're so capable. I knew you'd have a way. Lieu Shi said, full of admiration. She couldn't help but feel regret. When he was alive, he must have been a heroic figure, unmatched in courage. Thinking of this, she wondered, why did he die so young? Young master. The eldest young master, hearing Lieu Shi speak so sweetly for the first time, was surprised. But he couldn't deny the strange, indescribable emotion rising in his heart. Faced with her playfulness, he could only helplessly reply, What story do you want to hear now? Lieu Shi nodded happily. Will you tell me about your life when you were alive? I'm so curious. What kind of man was my husband? The eldest young master's expression turned serious. His dark, deep eyes seemed to hold endless sorrow. His lips tightened. After a moment, he replied, When the time comes, I'll tell you. For now, let me teach you how to make the effigy. Lieu Shi could only dejectedly answer, Yes, sir. After listening carefully to his instructions, it was already lunchtime. Chow brought food and Lieu Shi ate. Before Chow left with the tray, Lieu Shi said, Please tell Magistrate Zheng I've found a way to save Lady Zheng. I need the following items. Lady Zheng's usual clothes, dry straw, pig's blood, and pig skin. By early afternoon, Magistrate Zheng had sent everything Lieu Shi needed. She skillfully sewed the openings of the clothes shut, then soaked the straw in pig's blood, and stuffed it inside to create an effigy the same size as Lady Zheng. Finally, she wrapped it in pig's skin and sprinkled more pig's blood on it. Is this good enough? Lieu Shi looked at her creation and turned to ask. Good. The effigy now carries the scent of the person it's replacing. Since Lady Zheng was born in the year of the pig, pig's blood serves as the conduit. Now write her birth date on a piece of paper and stick it to the effigy's face. That will fool the smaller worms. That night, everything was ready. Lieu Shi ordered the effigy placed on the bed, while Lady Zheng would lie beneath it. Lieu Shi could only stand outside the door and observe, to avoid disturbing the Chongshi. Before leaving, she added, No matter what you see or hear, Lady Zheng must not make a sound. If the Chongshi discover the fake, they'll attack you immediately. Lieu Shi, Magistrate Zheng, and two of his trusted servants waited by the window. Around their feet, Lieu Shi had sprinkled lime powder to protect them from the Chong Shi in case of an emergency. Sure enough, at midnight the Chong Shi arrived. Though she had seen them before, Magistrate Zheng still broke into a cold sweat. As they crawled toward Lady Zheng's bed, everyone held their breath. Fortunately, the effigy worked, luring the Chong Shi to crawl onto it. They're inside now. Quickly take it outside and burn it. Magistrate Zheng immediately ordered his men to carry the effigy to the prepared brazier and burn it. Fortunately, this time everything went smoothly, with no unexpected incidents. Afterward, Lieu Shi turned to Magistrate Zheng privately. This effigy can save Lady Zheng's life once, but it will cost her 3 years of lifespan. The Chong Shi incident has already damaged your family's fortune. I fear the Zheng family won't last more than 2 generations. Horrified, Magistrate Zheng knelt and kowtowed to Lieu Shi like a living saint. Please, open a path for the Zheng family's future. Lieu Shi clasped her hands and said sincerely, If you trust me, listen. From now on, the Zheng family should eat vegetarian, avoid killing, dedicate merit, and do good deeds to create blessings for yourself, Lady Zheng, and your descendants. I can only help this far. After these 2 days, Magistrate Zheng's back seemed heavier than when Lieu Shi first arrived, bent with the weight of age. He respectfully replied, The Zheng family thanks you for your kindness. Tomorrow is the 14th. Mid-Autumn Festival is near. Tomorrow morning, I'll ask permission to return to the Hu Mansion. Please remember what I've said. Before leaving for her room, Magistrate Zheng suddenly handed her a command tablet and said, The Hu family isn't what they seem. I've dealt with them long enough to know. If you ever fall into hardship and reach a dead end, take this tablet to the capital. My old friend may be able to help you. He's a current minister of the court, named Liu Feng. Hearing the minister's surname was Liu, Lieu Shi felt a strange sense of unease.